Well, I'm 76. I'll be 77 this year. I came out from Scotland with my family in 1950 when I was 2 on a boat called the Atlanta. It took 6 weeks and we lived in a home in Newport and then subsequently moved to Bendigo and then back to Melbourne. 3 sisters. My mother, Jean Stewart, S-T-E-W-A-R-T, was champion of all Scotland in Highland dancing when she was 16, presented with trophies by the Queen Mother's mother. And we still have those trophies today. I go back quite regularly every 4 or 5 years to see my family in Scotland because I'm the only one now that's here that's left. The others are all hit up a catch, so they're not going to bat anymore, they're all dead. My growing up period was in Melbourne and Bendigo. Played footy at Eston in 66, 67 in the under-19s. So I'm not like the other gentlemen you'll introduce to who played league footy at a very high level. And my mate Iain Payne, who's probably one of the best guys you'll ever meet. You'll have a chat to him later, he'll tell you some funny stories. I went to school at Nunawading High School, that's not there anymore. Left school and was an apprentice, finished that and joined the police in 1968. In the same year I got conscripted to do national service. Did national service, went to Vietnam in 69, served over there, did a bit of run around in Vietnam, was in Vung Tau, was in Nui Dat, was in Saigon. In Saigon I worked with the Australian Embassy, myself and a gentleman called Dave Foley, who was a policeman, Victoria policeman, he's now passed away. And we were the two that excuse me, went through all the bars when they were throwing hand grenades in and killing people, so pulling bodies and people out of bars. In Vung Tau I was in the choppers over there and we went out the contacts every night to pick up the prisoners of war who'd been captured and bring them back. What else did I do in Vietnam? Oh well, out in the battlefields a little bit there. Come back from that, went back in the police force in Melbourne, worked undercover in the drugs, went in the armed robbery squad and worked in that for 10 years, working on the Great Bookie robbery, CUB robbery, Ansett, the Guthrie's gun robbery where they sold they broke into a place and got 350 357 Magnums, and a week later we recovered them all. Then I worked undercover again, then I got sent up undercover to work on the Brisbane docks for 3 months. Retired from the cops in 1988-89, then got into the corporate world. Worked with a company called the Events Centre. I took all the top professors on study tours all around the world for 8 years. Worked with Higgins Coatings, a big painting company. I was their national sales manager. Left there and I got asked to go and work for a big corporate BDO chartered accountants. I worked for them. I didn't retire, but now I sit on the board, the foundation of the Epworth Hospital. I was on the prostate cancer board, the E.J. Whitten, for 27 years. I've been on the MND Oxygen Committee with Neil Danaher, have been on that since day one. I was state president of TPI, the war vets. I sit on fifth quarter with Ken Hunter, that's to do with footballers with mental health and concussion issues. I sit on 2 committees presently with the Essendon Footy Club, being the past players and the Essendonians coaching group. When I came back in 1978, I worked at Essendon. I was on the finance committee with the late, great Bruce Haymanson. I worked with Athol Hodgetts on the banquet committee. I've been team manager at Essendon. I worked on recruiting with Adrian Dodoro. Currently, the footy club just the Essendonians and the past players, that takes a lot of time. When we came home, we were a bit disappointed that we landed at Tullamarine and we were in our uniforms. Every single person on that plane that was from Vietnam went into the toilets. We took all our uniforms off and left them there and dressed in civvies, and when we came out, and when we walked through the terminal, people spat on us. So some guys were crying, some guys were really upset. Bit disappointing in how we were treated as veterans, and Iain Payne, who you'll talk to soon, him and I have marched together for a long, long time. It's only recently that we're starting to get recommended and get thanked for our service. And thank you to the Eston Football Club. For last year, they put a lunch on for the Vietnam vets, and we went out there and we were introduced to all the players, and they now have recognised us for the service that we did. When I got married, it was a bit hard on my wife. She couldn't understand how we weren't appreciated for what we did. Now, we started going out together when we were 15 and 16, been together 60, married 54, got 3 kids, 2 boys and a daughter, 4 grandkids. I call them the expenses. All they do is ask me, oh, Pop, how much? And I talk in the old term, I call money folding, and they said, how much folding have we got? I said, when did the we come into it? They go, don't muck around. So I gave one of them 20. She said, is that the best you can do? It cost me 50. So that's the grandkids of today. But to get back to your point about being recognised, no, just disgraceful. We weren't appreciated. Even when I went in the police, I went straight back in the police force. No one wanted to know about Vietnam. Look, I never really got involved, and I don't talk about Vietnam. It's something that I had to do in my life, and I did what I had to do. But other than that, when I came home, no, I didn't do any RSL, and I didn't march for a number of years. And then I started to march, and it came to me then at how much appreciation of what I had done for our country. But my pals, 5 of them were in the police force, so we got together regularly and spoke, but only in our own circle would we speak, not outside that circle. I think the ones I was in, there's only about 10 of us left. A lot of them have passed away, so no, not a lot. And a fair few that I was in the police force with have passed on, so. My father took me to my first game of football at the MCG in 1956, and it was Melbourne playing Essendon at the MCG, and he was a policeman on duty at that time, so he took me and sat me in a seat, and I watched the whole game, and Essendon won, so I barracked for Essendon since 56.
98,000 people converge on the Melbourne cricket ground, and all of them are ready to barrack as keenly as the tradition of the game demands. They come from far and wide and by all modes of transport, and the bad weather makes little difference to their enthusiasm. The head of population, the Australian rules game in Melbourne draws greater crowds than any other game in the world. Looks like a poor tea for Dad tonight. What an outrage. And watch Melbourne's great defender Don Williams scout around the packs and clear to Dixon.
And since that time, since 56 to present, I've missed 1 grand final. And that was when I was in Vietnam, and I said to the platoon commander, can I have the weekend off? I want to go home for the grand final. He said, get out, go and march. So I'd never seen that, but I've been very lucky in that I've seen every grand final since 1962. So every Essendon premiership I've seen. In 84, 85, I was privileged to sit on the bench for the grand finals at the MCG, and that was a bit of a exciting moment, and I'm very lucky, and I guess I'm a bit blasé in the fact that I know all the players and I still see them all, and I'm actually doing a lunch today to help some RSL people who are in a bit of trouble. And Terry Danaher and Simon Madden, who are 2 of the all-time greats of Essendon, both played 300 games. Simon's 378, and they're coming to do a football panel for me for the RSL vets for nothing. So I'm very lucky in the fact that I can go to that. In 1978, I went on the AFL tribunal as the advocate, and I was on that tribunal for 45 years. So in view of that, all the people that I met, I'm very privileged that I can ring and talk to them, and if I need something, they're more than happy to help. You have to do your homework. You just can't go to the tribunal and think you'll go in and, I'll say this, I'll say that. No,
Bit like Campbell Brown that day.
And you've got to bear in mind...
Campbell, yeah, Campbell.
But you got to... I did Campbell, another metal giant. But you've got to understand, when you go to the tribunal now, the AFL have got a QC appearing for them.
Yeah. Oh, right. So they're brought in the big guns, yeah.
That's chairman of the tribunal. So if you haven't done your homework, and these guys are pretty eminent and pretty smart guys, and bear in mind, they sit and watch all the tapes too.
Yeah.
Well, in the old days, no. And the reason I went on the tribunal was a bloke called Alan Schwab, who was the CEO then of the VFL, rang me. And he said, will you come and see me? I said, well, I don't even know who you are. He said, I'm the CEO of the VFL. So I went and saw him. He said, listen, we want you to be the advocate on the tribunal. I said, Mr. Schwab, when you're chasing crooks, you don't give them a card and say, listen, I'll catch you up in the morning, I've got to go to the tribunal. He said, well, when you're not chasing your crooks, will you do it? So I've been on that in a long, long time, and the people I've been very privileged through the AFL and the VFL to the people I've been able to meet, who you ordinarily wouldn't get to meet, and I'm very privileged in that I can ring them and talk to them, and if I need a favour, they'll do it in a minute. If you ever get the opportunity, don't miss it and go to Anzac Day. Now there's 90,000 people in that, all Collingwood, Eston and other teams. They play the bugle and the last post. You could hear a pin drop in the MCG when 90,000, not one person to murmur or disrespect that day and what happens on that day. And then when the game starts, it is just something you'll never ever experience. The only other thing I've experienced that emotionally the same as that was I walked Kokoda when I was 60, and I got asked to do the ode on the day at the ceremony in PNG, and that was very moving to read that oath where you'd seen World War II vets who had walked Kokoda. Now bear in mind, they were carrying their ammunition, they were carrying their injured, they were carrying all this, everything, and we just had a pack in our back with something to eat. So very emotional to do Kokoda. They're the only two things I'd say to you if you ever get an opportunity in life, physically and emotionally Kokoda, but emotionally to stand at the MCG with your medals on, knowing that you've represented your country and have 90,000 people saying thank you.